Now, with the lockdown in Sydney showing no signs of ending anytime soon, sadly, unions are demanding the government reinstate a JobKeeper-style wages subsidy. ACTU Secretary Sally McManus joins us now from Melbourne. Very good morning to you.
Morning, Michael.
You're obviously in touch with the shop floor of so many businesses, companies, certainly in Sydney, if not around New South Wales. How desperate, in your view, is it getting?
Well, people have already lost their jobs, and what we know is going to happen now is even more jobs will be lost. And that's because what the government's done is introduced a program where people essentially need to go to Centrelink to get support. So employers are no longer responsible. There's no longer that connection there. And what we're worried about is the job losses now, but also the job losses into the future. Part of the reason why we, bounce back so well is that both companies, small business and workers automatically were already in a job. You didn't have to go around looking for one, and employers didn't have to search for the skills. It worked, it's sensible, and we are asking the government reinstate it and include all casuals and get rid of the rorts.
OK, now the government argues in reply that this up to $600 a week disaster relief payment, in their view, is faster and more flexible than JobKeeper, and argues why shouldn't we keep that going? And on that basis, it is more flexible than JobKeeper, which required thresholds to be met and lots of forms and back and forth.
Well, I'd say this. I'd say, first of all, basically workers have got to fend for themselves, go apply for it, work it all out. That's what's got to happen there. I'd say in terms of being faster, companies already have it all set up for JobKeeper. They know how it works. Workers know how it works. We need $600 a week for people who are unemployed. That needs to go up because we're in a situation where no one can get jobs. I mean, all of us, both, even a Liberal government is saying bring back JobKeeper. We need to put aside politics and just work together again. It's a lockdown. It's not. With JobKeeper, it happened for a long period of time and a lot of states weren't in lockdowns. This is different. It is actually an emergency and we know this system works and we know it's enough to keep people going.
The government recently, as most Australians did, Sally McManus, celebrated the success of the jobless rate falling below 5%. If this isn't addressed and these payments aren't made to workers and more people are laid off, where do you fear the jobless rate could be going?
Well, that's the point. It's obviously during a lockdown, there's a lot of job losses anyway, and that was partly because the government let casuals out of it last time. So they've got to fix that problem. But then what happens is as soon as the lockdown ends, people are ready to spend again. But if companies have got to, scramble around and try and find staff and workers got to apply for jobs, it's going to be a big problem. So I think there's still the potential to bounce back. It would just be longer and harder for both businesses and workers. And it's about security, it's about confidence in the economy, and we know JobKeeper does that. So why move away from something that we know works? OK, yeah,
finally, you mentioned rorts, and a lot of Australians have been horrified by some companies making bumper profits during the pandemic last year, not repaying to the government the JobKeeper payments they got. For argument's sake, if JobKeeper was brought back, what do you suggest are ways of preventing that sort of behaviour happening in future?
Well, you've got to remember workers did get the money in those companies that were rorting. It's just that, basically the government was subsidising the wages bill for companies who didn't need it. And I think part of the reason why is because JobKeeper went for a period of time when a lot of companies weren't in lockdown, and also we didn't expect such a good bounce back. So I think that there's a different argument to be had where you've got clearly an economic crisis when all these businesses are forced to close. No one's making profits when you're forced to close.